Cast the Craze is partnered with NSC Roadshow. NSCLiveTV.com and Inc. Marketing are proud to present the NSC Roadshow podcast tour. As a creator, come to be treated like a rock star as we take you on a tour with podcasters from around the world. Got a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or a project you would like to tell thousands about? Come and get on the tour. Are you a podcaster that would like more creators on your show? Come become a tour stop on the tour. What's up, George? What's going on in the camp of craze?
In the campo, we have today Barry Bransch. He is the creator of Outlier, World Forge, an Indiegogo on the 15th, which is today. So yes. Check it out.
Check it out. World Forge. Peace.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Cast the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the dream of Medina and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to cast the Craze. If you are an independent, cast the Craze. Making moves on your own, cast the Craze. On your grind in the streets, cast the Craze. Join the movement, cast the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the Craze. Welcome to Catch the Craze Podcast. I am your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Bear, and I am with
George the Grebo Medina. What's happening, Sammy? Keep up.
Yes, what's up?
Woo. It's another day. Another show.
Gotta make some nickels.
We are not live today. We are actually coming to you on a special day because usually we do these live. Today we are not live. It is Wednesday the 15th, but we have a special guest today because they have an Indiegogo campaign that launches today. So you want to go to Indiegogo and check it out and pledge while you are watching this. Take a break, go pledge, come back, keep watching the interview. Word. Yeah, it's cool, man. You know, we love to do these for the indies. Today is Outlier is the name of the book, like we mentioned in the soft open. Yeah. And Barry Bransch will be on this show. The exciting thing about this project is that sign up if you signed up for the campaign, you had a chance to win a poster signed by Bart Sears. Yeah. So Bart Sears is linked to this project. So you guys definitely want to check it out. He's got incredible cover art by him, and these covers are amazing. If you guys are on the Indiegogo campaign now, you'll see it. So yeah, it's an exciting campaign. Can't wait to talk to him about it. And he's got a very, very cool opening video. So check that out. So yeah, man, that's what we got going on today. And what's going on over there?
What's going on? Oh, baby. Actually, let's get it on. Anyway, so what's going on in the House of Craze? Let's see. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. It's good to be back in routine again with the Craze and 10LS is back. If you missed we're in the middle of the week, so the second one would have aired. Got a lot of good stuff happening with some vlogumentaries that are being posted on the channel. And, now it's just preparing. This week I should be shipping out. I should be receiving. Actually, this week I'm receiving everything from the printers, all the books, the variant covers, the homage covers, the gold cover, the holofoil cover, and the trading cards and all that stuff's coming from the printers this week. And so, it'll take me 48 hours to get it packed and out to you. So that's going to be good for Kickstarter. And then November 1st, Forbidden #2 goes live, where we introduce a brand new artist. takes over. You'll still have a cover by Anibal Arroyo, but the interior will be done by Primi Santra. And yeah, that's going to be hot. It's going to be fire. Fire!
And don't forget also November 3rd, the second chapter of the Russ book will be on Webtoons. So if you haven't gone on Webtoons, subscribe to that. That's coming up. And I think I'm going to do what we were talking about on a, I don't know if it's a past show or future show. I think it's going to be in a future show. But we're going to be putting out the book. You're going to be getting a page a week. So that is, so you'll have something to read every week. Expand it that way. I think that's the best way to do it. Again, when we're back in this game now, and everything is just go as you learn as you go.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. So Webtoons is where you will find Russ 5377. The first chapter's on there already. You can read the entire first chapter. That's almost like that. I'm gonna give you the first hit for free. The whole thing is free. Webtoons is free, but you won't be getting the full book come November. You're gonna be getting a page per week, which hopefully you guys will subscribe and check that out. So that's going on in November, and then we have a lot of stuff coming for the end of the year, man. A lot of stuff happening for the beginning of the year.
The beginning of the year. We're gonna launch the new year with Catch the Crazies, the graphic novel. 2022 launches. Is it Russ 5377?
No, Wonder Duck will be in the spring. I have the
Wonder Duck will be in spring on Kickstarter.
On Kickstarter.
Yeah, we got Designated in My Toilet coming to Kickstarter. Yeah, next year is a big year. So
dropping it like it's hot.
Drop it like it's hot, and the graphic novel for Forbidden is next year. So, I want to end this year raising enough money to pay off the colorist to finish this project, and then next year just go straight up graphic novel, full force.
Yep. For all our indie friends out there, you know what this is all about. The grind. Just raise crowdfunding campaigns have really been a blessing for all the indies out there, because we're able to go directly to the fans and say, hey guys, help us crowdfund this campaign and you'll get the book as soon as it's done. And for the most part, we've been very, very good with that, where we, for all of those fans of Catch the Crazies, the book isn't completed yet. In other words, the story isn't finished. It hasn't ended. There is more to come, and chapter 4 is coming. Issue 4 is coming.
Yes.
So that's gonna kick off.
That's gonna pop off the first year, 2022. First, so that's gonna be fun. And I start drawing it October 1st. So I start getting into grind then, and just getting everything out of the way now, so I can focus on that in October. That's gonna be exciting. But you said something about like the first hit is free. I witnessed that. You hear about that stuff and you see it in the movies and all that stuff. But I remember I was at a club.
Oh wait, we're talking about real hits.
Real hits. Yes, I was at a club.
We're going dark.
Yes, we're going dark, kids. So take the kids out the room. We're talking about some stuff. So we were at a parade. It was the Puerto Rican Day Parade. And then we got these passes to go to a club for free. And they're going to have all these freestyle artists performing. And so we go to the club. And so we go to the bathroom. And it's me and a few of my buddies. And I'm at the urinal. And this guy comes in. And he's like, yo, you want to hit? And I was like, nah, I'm not. I don't do that stuff. So he goes to my friend. And he says, yes. And now, this is the white stuff. The worst I've ever done was alcohol or marijuana when I was 22. That was the first. That was the first and last time that year, and then I did it again maybe 10 years later, and that was it. And not even 10 years later. It was 5 years later, and then for one time, and that was it. But so yeah, it's the white stuff, and I was like, yo, what are you doing? Because I seen it ruin neighborhoods. I'm like, what's he doing? So he takes it, and I go to the bar or whatever. So he's like, about 45 minutes into it, he's like, he wants another hit. So he goes, finds the guy, and the guy's like, $50. That's how they get you.
That's it.
They lured you in. And I was like, I was very disappointed in my friend, because I've seen it in my communities and how it destroyed families and everything, and it destroyed my family, and but yeah, that's how the dealers did it. They give you that free one and then they get you in there.
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
it
mean,
is true.
I wasn't talking about that hit, but yeah. But you know what? It's crazy because that tactic works, right? If something is that good and the first thing
Yes.
you get is free,
Yep.
you are going to want the next, and then that one maybe charged for. So yeah, no, that's exactly the mindset. I mean, with music, same thing. Like, yeah, I'll give you a free CD or whatever, and then they like your music, and it's like, all right, now I gotta buy the next one. You know what I mean? Like everything is just a business deal. But yes, so we do have more stuff coming out. We've been busy. We've been busy creating. We have a lot of properties that have been around for a long time. You guys that don't know about. There's an Alien in My Toilet. Is another one of those properties that has been around for a long time.
Right behind me.
And yeah, and that's coming back.
Yes.
So check that out. Sammy and I have been talking about a possible crossover between the Wonder Duck and the Alien.
Damn,
Duty.
boom.
So there's that. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike. There's a lot of creative.
And the great thing about what's coming down the pike from us is that Rush is done. Duty is done. We're not waiting to raise money to pay somebody. We did it. And so you're guaranteed to get it rapido.
Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, listen, anybody who's watching right now, if you want to check out some of the stuff that we do have out there already, go to crazycomics.com, go to getyourmeds with a Z.com, check that out, and then go to our social networks. The Adventures of Wonder Duck has one now, so go there, follow it. I try to post as much as I possibly can, at least once a week. So check it out. I mean, yeah, we're expanding, man. We started. Hey, listen, it's been 2 years. 2 years since the show came back. We're on the road to 1,000. So if you're watching this right now and you've never seen us before and don't subscribe yet, hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell so that whenever we have new stuff coming out, you are always, you always get an alert that we have a new episode. Comment, like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, road to 1,000, brother.
Road to 1,000, and there is crazycomics.com and getyourmeds.com with a Z, right?
With a Z.
Yeah, because I typed it. I want to make sure I made it right.
Get your meds.
Yes, get your meds. So check out the websites, check out the stuff. We're working on this stuff forever. It's new to you, not to us. So we're hoping that you enjoy what we produce and you stick with us for the long haul.
Yeah, back in the days when we were Crazy Comics, we had a I like the what was it, the slogan? The slogan was and I love that because I think that for a while, and we were talking to a young man just Sunday. If you guys watch that show, make sure you watch it. It's for Connery Catney. He has a book called Shift, and he's a young man. He said the best era for him of cartoons was the 2000s. And it got me thinking because everybody has their era, right? Like if you grew up in the 70s, you're gonna say the 70s had the best cartoons, If you grew up in the 80s had the best cartoons, 90s. So it's really decade based, or when you were growing up watching shows. And then he mentioned some of the shows. They have Ben 10 and these, and they were cool. They were cool. But to me, we go back to the 80s. You go back to like some of the 70s cartoons and stuff like that. You thought those were
because they don't know. They don't know.
But here's the thing, right? So the slogan was "Grow with us," right? Grow up with us, and grow up with us meant because a lot of the content that we put out, for the most part, is geared towards that kid who is, his imagination her imagination are still developing and going wild. And so, which is, I think, something that is missing. Even today is still missing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like with the video games and all that other stuff, it's a different kind of creativity. And I sound like an old man, but there was something about these old cartoons that made me, as a kid, want to create my own cartoons. And that's kind of like what we want to bring back. We want to bring some of that back, where we want these kids to want to create their own cartoons or their own characters based on the stuff that we're putting out for them. And so, jumping on the ground floor of this stuff is the best thing, because here we are. We're telling you what our projects are, and you can grab them now before. Hopefully, one day, man, we'll be able to see them on the big screen, on the small screen, whatever, streaming, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that was one of the things. Is like I grew up with I was talking to my father-in-law about my mother-in-law about Lord of the Rings and J.R.R. Tolkien, and when she first read it, she has the entire
Damn, she's a fan.
yeah,
Huh?
she has the entire book collection. She's never seen the animated series. Didn't even know that they had the animated movie. But she read all the books. She was the book reader. She loved the Peter Jackson's rendition of it in the theaters. And uh, so when back in Crazy Comics, I was always big on catchphrases, and for me, it was real. I wanted everyone to grow with us because I never thought I was going to leave for 10 years. You know what I mean? I didn't, so for me, it was always about, I want to create a world where I walk outside and kids are playing with my action figures in the park, or kids are running home to watch the cartoon on TV or playing the video game. That was my whole vision. And so it was like, grow up with us and let's create memories together. That was the second part of it. Right. And, and I believe 100%, it's never too late. And, it's what you do. And, we've created such great stories that we're hoping to bring back, and we have been bringing back those who were with us in the beginning, but also attract new fans. And you have so many options out there, and we're hoping that you give us a chance and you follow our stories and you come along with us. And that's another reason why we created this channel, to also spotlight creators out there who are passionate about what they do, who are storytellers and visionaries, and they have things they want to share with the world. And I think creativity and art is the greatest form of expression, and it transcends generations, and and it's up to you to help bring life to what we all do in the independent community.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, absolutely. I fear sometimes. I fear for the industry, the comic book industry, right? Because kids, or I should say, and I see it, we see it at conventions. A kid will come up to the table and they want to grab the book, and the parent's like, no, leave that there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a parent. I don't know what the mentality is behind it. Is it because they already have enough things at home? Is it because all that kid is going to do is just tear it and not even going to read it?
Right.
I don't know what the mentality is, but I don't understand why they would pull a child away from something that he's looking at or she's looking at, and they are just, they want to read, they want to explore it. Why take that away? That's the one thing that I wish parents would stop doing. Like, if you bring your kid to a convention and the kid wanders, and I get it, dude, like, they just want everything, right? They just want, you'll end up spending tons of whatever, right? But those same parents are walking around with some expensive action figures in that bag. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've experienced it. Even at EternalCon, the parents are the ones who came over to the table and said, "Look, Johnny," and the kid's like, "Oh," and the kid picks up like an art piece that I did, and it's like, "I want this one. I want this one." She's like, "No, you don't. Put it down. Let's go." Why'd you bring the kid over? You told him to come and look. You said, "Take a look at this stuff," and then and so that's, for me. Don't take the kids just to break their hearts. You know what I mean? And I think that's the tough part. I think if you're introducing kids to comic books and they show an interest,
well, that's the fear I have for the industry, because if these kids aren't reading the books, then the industry can't grow, because this is the future.
Yeah.
You look at sports. Football is probably never going to die. Baseball, basketball, they're never going to die. Why? Because kids always want to play sports. Kids will always, and they fall in love with the sport when they're kids.
Yeah.
5, 6 years old. That's when they fall in love with the sport. Nickelodeon and I think it was Nickelodeon and maybe the NBA, I think, teamed up. No, Nickelodeon and football, NFL, teamed up so that, how Nickelodeon has the slime and they have all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
They teamed up so that they would play games they would show games on Nickelodeon, and they would add all of these cool features on the screen so that kids would be like, oh, that's cool. And they would want to play the game to get those kids, because that's the future. They know that we need to cultivate this.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's going to die, because eventually us old guys are going to go and we're not going to read anymore. You know, when was the last time you bought a comic? And if you weren't doing this show, would you buy comics the way you used to buy comics? Right? No. Life gets in the way. But these kids, that's what they want. When we were talking to John Hervey last week, or this week coming up, you'll see it. He was talking about going to stores and saying, damn, my mom's only gonna let me buy 1 or 2 of these books, but I really want it. And when he got home, he read it and reread it and reread it, and that thing was torn up by the time he finished reading, because he was reading it so much. But that's what comics do for kids. Mm-hmm. They open up their minds. He says he learned how to read through comics. Yeah. You got a kid who is having a hard time reading, give him a comic book. You know, they'll look at the pictures first, but they'll try to read. He was reading comics with a dictionary next to him, because he's like, yo, what do some of these words mean? But that's how you develop vocabulary. Yeah. You know, that's how I did it. Yeah. And I'm an immigrant kid from Ecuador. I didn't speak English when I was 7 years old. You know what I mean? Like, I learned English reading comics for the most part. So I don't know. I just think that there has to be some kind of shift in the thinking.
I remember kids. Yeah. My mom introduced me to Archie comics.
Oh, I used to love Archie.
Yeah, she used to get the Archie comics when I was a kid. And I remember I found a letter when I was packing, moving out here. I found a letter that I wrote my mom. It was like, hey, Mom, can you wake me up at 6 a.m. for school? And can you leave me $2? And that $2 went on comics. Because when comics were a lot cheaper back then. And I go to the freaking bodega, and they had the spinner rack. And they had the spinner racks. And I used to love that. I remember when I went, I used to go to, it was called the candy store, the convenience store. And you go there and he had the spinner racks, and at that time it was Sergeant Rock. I was picking up. I became a big Punisher follower. G.I. Joe, Sergeant. I loved military stuff. I loved the Punisher. I collected Punisher for a long time, and my mom would never discourage me. She always encouraged me to draw. She always encouraged me to create. And that's the biggest thing you can do. To let my imagine play.
Yeah, you have to feed that. I think a lot of kids. I mean, listen. A lot of these video games are very violent. We live in a very different world. Kids are very different today. Kids are very different. With all these video games, shooting games, they're just so realistic. Like they live in that world. I think kids are a lot more mature now than they were when we were growing up. Like, I used to read comics till I was a lot older. These kids today don't, and I get that. I understand that it's a different generation. But if we can feed them when they're young, I'm talking about that kid that comes to the comic book convention and wants your book. Let him have it.
Let him have it.
Let him have it.
I remember. Remember, there was the what was the name of that convention? It was we met Nino Messinera at that convention at a hotel in the city.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and a woman, a kid, she bought the book for her son. Comes back an hour later, wanted to return. I never did. I didn't know what to do. And she's like, I want my money back. And I was like, she's going to cause a scene. What do I do? And I gave her money back, and I took my comic back. And it was wrinkled. I was like, and I didn't know what to say. And I said, I'm not going to fight the New York Spectacular. That's what it's called. And I was like, oh my God. I said, this woman doesn't understand that we're independent creators. I'm not a vendor. It was like, it was a crazy experience. It was the first and only time it ever happened, but that was crazy.
What did she say? Why?
Nope. She just said, because he wanted something else, and so she went and got him something else.
Okay.
After an hour, she probably ran out of money. She's like, well, you know what? You're gonna have to return that if you want this.
And listen, that may be the answer. That may be the reason why parents say, I know my kid. He just says he wants this. He really doesn't want it, or she really doesn't want it. It's just for now. She's gonna end up throwing it out. So you know what? Leave the nice man's comics alone. You don't really want it. Let's walk away. Maybe that's what it is. But
crazy.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
it was funny because like when you think about like even at ZoloCon, when you had that little girl come up to the table and she said, you should have this stuff on you on Webtoons.
Yeah.
Like she knew, she was the one.
Oh, she was schooling me.
Yeah, she was the one.
I was like, take me to church. Yeah, she was going in. I was like, yeah, thank you. I'll let George break it in, and I'll learn from what he does, and then I'll go in.
What it was. That's exactly what it was. Take the plunge. But you see, that's the thing. You have to take some of these plunges. Now I get it. You know, to be fair, you probably didn't have the time to do it.
No.
You know what I mean? There's just so much going on. But you know, for me, all right, let me just, and which is why I put the entire first book in there, right? Because it's again, we're learning as we go.
Yeah. And
so, yeah, I mean, here we are. But yeah, I can't get enough of going to these conventions, even if it means somebody's going to turn it down or whatever.
Right.
I just feel like I'm excited that they're back. You know, speaking of.
I'm excited that conventions are back. I'm just not happy that I can't do any more the rest of the year. You know, because this move really, you know, broke the bank. And but I'm looking forward to 2022 as long as there's no new virus that comes along, you know, and no wars to be had, because it looks like we're probably going to be back in the Middle East sometime next year, if not the fall. I think this is all propaganda, but we'll see. We don't know. Hoping that we have a few more years to create and have fun before our leaders, you know, decide to put us in jeopardy. Yeah, because everyone's acting crazy right now. It's just the world is just losing its mind.
Yeah. I mean, listen, 2022. We would have to see what some of these conventions are. I loved some of the stuff that people were posting from the conventions that they did. ZoloCon, I think, is usually in February. We were there in July, but it's usually at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe we go there. That was a fun show. I know you're all the way in Texas. It's not as easy as just to drive out there anymore, but I think that's a good one. We had a lot of fun there. Uh-oh, look at your eyes. They bulged. What happened? Boing, boing. What happened?
No, what's Texas? What's Texas time?
It is now 7:30. It's Central Standard Time.
It's 7:30 here. Yeah. Wait, so I gotta check something out. Yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh no, I thought you saw something about the conventions for next year. No, I was talking about ZoloCon. How I definitely want to do that show. Obviously, dude, the big show. I definitely want to go back to San Diego Comic-Con. I know there's probably a waiting list on that thing. So, but that's one that I definitely want to do. Awesome Con in DC looked like it was a good show. I know those tables tend to be expensive. So, and that's the other thing, the budget, right? You have to budget that. Dragon Con is another one that I've always wanted to do. That one's probably very expensive as well. But yeah, no, there are a few. And then, you know, the Expo, you know, the one in Boston, that was a good show. When I went, John went to that one. I don't know that he had such a great experience, but I think that's because of the people he was tabling with. And that's the other thing you have to be mindful of, is who you're going there as partners to table with. Because you definitely want to make sure that you guys are on the same page. You and I, we both know I like to be at conventions early, bro. We are early risers. Get there, set up. You know what I mean? We on the way there, we'll pick up some quick coffee or something just to get us going. And then it's sit down and let's work. So that's the mentality. That's always been the mentality since we started in this thing. It's never wavered.
Yeah.
But other people are different.
But
I
think what ego gets the best of people. You know, I think what happens is, and it plagues a lot of independents. You know, you have one good day at a multi-day event. You have a good day, and then you're like, you know what? You know, I'm a rock star now. I can take it easy. I can come and go whenever I please and whatever. And that's not the case. And so when your ego starts getting in the way, you know, you're not in it for the right reasons. I think real creators will be there. The first one's in, last one's out, and they're going to ride or die the whole way through and make sure that they don't miss a sale. They don't miss, you know, getting an email, making a connection. They're going to hustle. And, there's a lot of newbies that go in there and they think it's a social gathering, and they rather do everything else but what they were supposed to be doing in the first place. You just spent a lot of money. You need to recoup that money. The only way to do that is by being behind the table.
Well, you know what's great? I think that happens too. Not so much. I think the newbies, right? The newbies go in there with a lot of gusto. Hey, man, I'm going to go in there in the first show. They're boom, amped, and they're there the whole time. By the second or third show, I think that's when they start like, you know what? I think I'm going to walk around a little bit. And don't get me wrong. I've been guilty of the same thing because it's hard to sit behind that table and just watch people walk by.
And stare at you like you're in a zoo.
Like, like you're behind. Yeah, exactly. So it's very hard to do that for 8 hours, 2 or 3 days, right? So you have to have that discipline. And I think that as a veteran of exhibiting at shows, I talked to you about this, I think we had the right idea, and we've always talked about this, having, say, interns, for example, to come in and do sales, because that is very taxing, dude, to sit there and generate these sales. And to be able to go back to the table, maybe just do signings, right? But that's not the reality, dude. Like, we're not there. Like, it still has to be you.
Yep.
And that's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, me coming back, I was like, oh, I forgot how awkward this is, right? Because I haven't done it in 10 years. I was like, oh, yes. And PowCon was a great rude awakening for the awkwardness. And then ZoloCon was misleading, because then when I went to EternalCon, I was back at the awkwardness again. I was like, oh, and EternalCon was even worse, because EternalCon was a cosplay event. That's what it is. They were there for the cosplay and the gaming, not many there for artists and independent creators. And they just stared at you. They walked by, they stared at you, and they're like, what are they doing there? It was like, so that was a bad choice for me as an independent trying to get my name out there. I should have done my homework and understood it before I committed to that event.
You know what? I think that what I found, the two things that the two shows where it was awkward had in common, the two things that they had in common was the mask wearing.
Yeah.
The minute you had to throw a mask on your face and you had to stay a few feet away and you couldn't really interact, that's when things got really awkward, because nobody wants to come near you. You know what I mean? Everybody's got this mask on. You sound like Bane. You don't understand what the hell the other person's saying. Wait, what did you say? But you can't get too close, because so at that point, I'm just going to walk away. And I think that happened. Unfortunately, it happened at PowCon, and unfortunately, it happened at Eternal. From what you were telling me about Eternal, I wasn't there. I don't know. But ZoloCon was different, because ZoloCon was almost like going back to the days where you could just sit there or stand there and have a conversation with that fan.
Yeah.
We met couple of great guys, Carlito, you know what I mean? We met a couple of great people. We sat there, we took pictures. They came by, we were talking to the people next to us. Like, it was a whole different experience. And even that setup, because it wasn't supposed to be that good, bro. If you think about it, that's a collector's show. That's what that is. But the way they had it set up, there was nowhere to go. The people had to walk around, and they had to walk past you. So as long as you were willing to say, hey, you want to check this out, or as long as you had some eye candy on the table and they liked what they saw, you were going to get a sale. Plus, add to the fact that you can speak to them, talk to them. That makes a difference. When you go to a show where you say the majority is cosplayers, now you have these restrictions. You have your mask. You have it. It's hard enough to sell. You throw that into the mix, it's a bomb. You're bombing. You're bombing. You throw more variables in there like this, and you're done for, bro. You're done for. So hopefully next year that goes away, the masks, and all that stuff is lifted.
Well, the first day of EternalCon, there were no masks. I think somebody filed a complaint, and that's why the second day they forced the mask issue.
Yeah.
But it was, I think it's like 70% of the attendees were in costume. They were cosplayers, and cosplayers don't carry wallets. And so they're just there to play. Shots fired. Yeah, shots fired. Chop, chop, chop. Right? So, and it was true, because I didn't see one cosplayer stop to buy any comic books. There, they were all taking pictures at the step and repeat, and the backdrops, and they were all entering the contest. And a lot of friends taking selfies and going on social media. And then the ones that were there that came in, they were all wanted to get to the second level. So they put all the indie creators upstairs and they put everything that's mainstream downstairs. And so everybody was just like, how do I get downstairs? How do I get downstairs? How do I get downstairs? So, and it was the feeling was mutual in our floor. It was just like, oof, this definitely isn't my show.
So for all you cosplayers out there, we need to get some cosplayers on the show. we do. I really would love to interview. And this is like, all jokes aside, like it's funny, but I definitely want to get cosplayers, because we've done a lot of independent artists. We've done a lot of, we've done musicians, we've done puppeteers. We haven't had a cosplayer on the show. So if you're a cosplayer and you're watching this right now, hit us up. Go to Catch the Craze either on Instagram or go to Catch the Craze podcast on Facebook.
Yes, there's a few cosplayers that actually follow us on Instagram. So if you're watching, come on down. Yes.
Hit us up. We want to talk to you. We want to talk. I'm going to ask you that question. Do you guys carry wallets? Like, do you have wallets?
What's in your wallet?
I'm going to ask you that question. I want an answer.
Yes.
But also, I'm interested in because, dude, what cosplayers do is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw some of those costumes. They were ridiculous, right? Yeah. And all that other stuff. But it's an interesting subculture of our, and that sub doesn't mean anything negative. I'm just saying it's an interesting culture within the comic book industry, because there's a lot of manga characters that I've never heard of, seen, and maybe I should, but I haven't. And they just they exude and they just want to be these characters.
Yeah.
But when you go to a convention like that, you have to know that you're probably not going to make any sales.
No money.
That is
no money at all. I should just put on a damn costume myself. As I forget it, you can't beat them, join them.
Dude,
but
maybe that's the tactic.
Yeah,
maybe that's what you got to do.
Yeah, but I see that our guest is in the waiting room. Barry's in the waiting room. So if you're looking to promote your convention or your book signing or your Kickstarter, why not? Are you sitting at home wondering how you're going to spread the word about that Comic-Con that you're about to appear at, and you want to get some press? How about your first book signing? How do you spread the word so you can get an audience there? Or that first panel at a Comic-Con? Who do you talk to? Or even your first crowdfunding on Kickstarter or Indiegogo? The world is turning to podcasting to get the word out. Why not you? Sponsor an episode of Catch the Craze and start promoting yourself today. Welcome.
The audio's still kicking in.
Okay.
There it is.
All right. Here we go. How you doing?
How's it going?
Good. I like that backdrop. Outlier, Warforge.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
That's newly minted. That didn't exist about 3 minutes ago.
There you go. Look at that.
I own a sign shop for my my day job, so it comes in handy.
Oh, it comes in very handy.
Nice.
Yeah, no doubt.
I love when you can do that, when you have the day job, helps out the the passion project.
No doubt.
That's awesome. So where are you coming? Where are you talking to us from? Where are you located?
I'm actually speaking to you from Arkansas, from Central Arkansas, a little town called Conway.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to dispel some of those podunk rumors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we used to have.
Listen, Sam is in Texas.
Yes.
I'm in New York, so we're all over.
Hey,
today.
Hey, back in the day in high school, I used to be a telemarketer. So it was New York that taught me to cut to the chase.
Yeah.
You're talking too much. What are you selling me? Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Attitude, right?
Come on. Cut to the chase. Yep.
I'm having dinner. Let's go.
Right. I'm used to it.
Oh man. Well, welcome Barry, and for those who are watching, thank you for coming back to Catch the Craze. We are here with Barry. Bransch, sorry, I'm gonna mess up your bad last name because that's what I do.
Yeah, actually, let's do this. I'm actually going by a pen name, so let's just go by Lincoln.
There you go.
I'm going with B. Lincoln Bransch is actually what I'm going with. I don't know if you're gonna edit this or whatever, but I'm prone to use a pen name just simply because of Facebook and history and blah blah blah. So
I got you. So B. Lincoln Bransch, and we are talking to him about his upcoming project. Actually, this will air on the day you launch. So we're talking about Outlier World Forge. And
yes.
It's August 15th, first day of the campaign. But before we get into that campaign, Lincoln, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your background, how you got into this crazy business, and all of that fun stuff.
Man, look, it's first of all, this book, this particular story, it's one of many, but this particular story is 15 years in the making, man. I actually was driving on my way back from vacation with my wife and kids, and I as ideas often do, one idea ran into another, and from that creative mix, the literary chocolate and peanut butter came together, so to speak. And initially, it had its life as a story that was around Loki. Of course, this was pre-MCU days, okay? So there was no MCU cinematic universe thing going on where Loki had become a common household name. And originally it was going to be based around, it was going to be called Loki Investigations. And it was going to be based around Loki in modern day times as being basically a seedy gumshoe private detective, and that part kind of still exists. But he was going to be a seedy gumshoe private detective down on his luck and hiding out from all the rest of the would-be gods, who were pretty much celestial con men who had appeared to humanity over the centuries in the form of various deities, whether they be Marduk or Baal or whomever, or the Norse gods or whatever, manifesting in whatever way to basically get their con on with humanity. And kind of just an interesting different take on that. But whenever Loki became kind of a household name, it made me want to shift my thinking, and so I reworked it all. It was originally like Loki and the 17 words of power, and it shifted to incorporate a lot of new ideas like simulation theory, concepts of the whole what they call it, the Mandela effect. All of these different ideas came into play and introduced themselves to me, and it shifted around so that it was more centered on the Judeo-Christian concept mixed with Skyrim, in so much as an open sandbox world. I asked the question, what if our reality was an open sandbox? Further, what if somebody from this world somehow from within Skyrim, for example, were able to play with the controls of Skyrim? Suddenly it would change everything. And that's kind of the situation. Humanity is beginning to touch on the powers of creation through some technology that they should have never had access to. And that's where we find our reclusive character, Rafe Gadara, who is, like I said, the protagonist of the book, who is very much a grifter and a guy who's hiding from the powers that be. There was a war that took place with differing ideologies, and he didn't want a part of it. He had a reason for not being a part of it, but that's really what it all boils down to. He's kind of a guy in hiding, and circumstances come along and literally blow his door down to make him, whether he wants to or not, very much a centerpiece of something that he didn't want anything to do with. And that's kind of where we find it in the beginning of the first book.
Okay. All right.
Wow, Steve. So we know you were a graphic artist, and you were in advertising, and you did a lot of promotional work. So how'd you get started in graphic design?
Honestly, that was as much a practical decision as it was anything else. Hang on just a second. What do you need, sweetheart? Oh, you just want to watch. My 10-year-old is right here on the on the outskirts wanting to. She wants to be a YouTube star one of these days. And so she notice she manages to creep her way into frame. But be that as it may, for me it was very much a practical decision. Back in the early '90s, whenever the whole world was going nuts over image and the revolution that was taking place at that point in the comic industry, I was very much one of those guys who was on board and wanted to play in that sandbox. But crazy little thing called marriage came along. And shortly after that, we were married in March, got pregnant in May, suddenly found myself with a little one on the way. And window of opportunity for the comics field suddenly narrowed and shrank and kind of got set aside and then shriveled and put into a box and gathered dust on a shelf. And so that's how I redirected my attention toward graphic design. I got a degree in that, and I worked for various other companies doing design work. I've designed products that have sold, in fact, I've got a line of digital products that sells within the graphics industry that sold around the world for quite a bit in the mid 2000s. That was kind of cool. But for the most part, I've been just a simple sign guy and logo designer working here in little old Arkansas.
So that's a great origin story there for you. Started out back in the 90s doing what you thought you wanted to do. Now, were you an artist or you a writer or did you do both?
The art was definitely the angle that I started with, and I found myself, the older I got, the more I found myself leaning in the direction of writing. I've always created worlds and characters, and world building is like one of my favorite things in the world to do. I've got I have a whole universe in my head, and I really hope my imprint. The name of my imprint is Luckless Hero, because while I don't consider myself unlucky, I definitely think I've done it by virtue of talent and ability, and not anybody necessarily giving me a hand up. Hence, luckless, not unlucky, but luckless. Right. So Luckless Hero Presents is all about producing quality comics that don't have an agenda, don't have any politics in mind, that are just simply about the things that made us love them in the beginning. What drew us to the medium in the first place, and that's what I'm excited about. And I have a ton of stories I want to tell.
I love that. I love that concept, because it's funny, because Sam and I, before you came on, we were talking about how comics used to be that, right, for the kid who just wanted to explore new worlds and just get those worlds, right? And I feel like today's kid is lacking that. It's not even their fault. It's just what they're exposed to, right? So
sure.
It is
Absolutely.
our job as creators to kind of reintroduce them to those worlds.
And
expand their mind and open them up again to like creating and being creative.
No doubt. That is so key. That's something that I always taught my own kids, is that it's so important that you extrapolate. Kids today, so much of, I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but kids today really, they're used to just looking it up on the internet, or, somebody just nobody wants to say, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to put these two things together and see there's no extrapolation that takes place. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, comics were a recipe for, survival during summer times, because whenever I was a little kid growing up, I lived in very rural Arkansas. It was really country. It was barefoot summers. And there was nothing better than being able to grab a stack of comics and disappear for a while. Into Superman and Spider-Man and whatever. Those things were lifelines for me, and it opened up my mind to all the worlds that are available to us in literature, whether it be in comics or in prose or whatever form, it wants to take. And I think that, the internet and all of the things that we have access to by virtue of the information age is so awesome. But I think it's also done us a disservice in so much as if you don't dig for something, it doesn't have the same value. I don't know.
I agree.
Absolutely.
100%.
I'm waxing philosophical. That wasn't part of the plan.
This is, I think that when you started talking about how you've been thinking about this idea for 15 years, Loki was original character. It brought me into like, okay, well, what were you into growing up? Well, like, what were you reading? Like that that opened this kind of stuff up. So that's what I'd ask you. Like, what kind of inspired this story or any of your stories? Like, is it Norse mythology? Is it, Oedipus Rex? Like, what kind of books were you reading as a kid, other than
brother?
Comics that got you?
It was all of those things. I read I read Homer. I read, Beowulf. Loved Beowulf whenever I was a kid. Read a lot of Edgar Rice Burroughs. All of the different, the Time Machine, H.G. Wells. All of those early stories of guys who were, of course, Tolkien and all of these different ones who, I got to mention Robert E. Howard. These guys who created the archetypes. Right. Who created, from whole cloth worlds and ideas. And while it's true that there aren't any new stories anymore, in so much as, you've got the hero's journey, you've got, the small town guy goes, it makes it good, or you've got the chosen one, or, any of these different themes and concepts that have been hammered and hammered and hammered. But ideas are still alive and fresh if people want to work on it, and that's one of the things. And not to take any shots at all at other great creators, because I'm so thankful for, Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all of these different venues by which, independent creators now, in the vacuum that has been created by the dissolution of modern comics, I'm so thankful that opportunity is there. But I don't want it to be a scenario where it's just there for people to grab a quick buck. I want to create quality, and I want to tell the kind of story. I want to use it as that venue to tell the kind of stories that got me jonesing whenever I was a kid. The thing that I got excited about and said, man, that is just a tight story. I remember, there are movies you watch and it's popcorn. It is what it is. I remember the first time I watched Training Day, using that as an example. Man, it's an awesome movie for movie's sake. But the thing I love the most about that is how tight the writing is. Anton Fuqua directed a great film there, but the thing that's so awesome is setting up, little things like that the girl's wallet in that film. It saves Ethan Hawke's character's life, and it's it's so pivotal. And there's I love that kind of story writing. I like whenever an author cares enough about it that he's not just flying by the seat of his pants. He's putting those seeds in place that are key. Say whatever else you want about, George R.R. Martin. Hodor is still the greatest, seed planted, of anything. Forget season 8, but that Hodor, that was awesome. And that kind of thing. It doesn't happen, in every story, and it's not there in a lot of the stuff that you see in some of these independent campaigns. And I want to see that. I want to see awesome creators. I mean, this is a time that the next generation of kings can be made. And by that I mean Kirby and Lee and the type of guys. Who knows what form it's going to really take, but there are creators that are being born on those platforms. I mean, and I don't know that I'm going to be one of those guys. I'm 51 years old. I have no clue, but I know I'm going to do my thing. And that's what I'm excited about.
Well, I think that for us, and, we're all around the same age. I think that we have wisdom on our side, right? We know where to put certain parts of the story, so it doesn't look forced, but it's part of the story, and it makes you flip that page, right? Like I say this all the time. If I knew then what I know now as a kid, I'd be doing all kinds of crazy, great stories. But sometimes we have to go through it to do it. And I like the concept of outline. Going back to your story and pivoting right into your story, I like the concept of this outlier, right? Of this guy who kind of just travels through this world. And if you tell us a little bit more about it, I know he started off as Loki. What is he now, and what is that story about?
Whenever you're first introduced to the character of Rafe Gadara, he's lived several lifetimes. He's for all intents and purposes inside our world, he's an immortal. Okay. He's lived different lives as different people throughout the ages. And whenever we meet him, he looks for all intents and purposes like, just a shady private detective sort of guy. Whenever we meet him, he's in a car doing a stakeout. He's watching some guys that are robbing a diamond exchange in New York. It actually starts off in New York City. And in fact, a lot of it takes place in New York. some key elements that take place later on in the book have some serious wow factor that I don't really want to get into yet, but some messing with reality that takes place. But be that as it may, he's watching these guys that are diamond thieves, and his purpose is pretty much his own. He has become accustomed over the years, over the centuries of his existence. He's become a little jaded. And because he has lived in such obscurity and in such seclusion, he doesn't really connect well with humanity, but he connects with humanity's things. And so you'll find in his house, for example, if you look closely at the art, you're going to see Frank Frazetta paintings next to Andy Warhol. You're going to see, different things like that. He has, statuary from ancient Egypt and, ancient China that exist inside of his house, because he is a collector of things as a disconnected way to connect with humanity. It's just part of the pathos that goes into it. Forgive me, I'm more of a prose writer than I am a comic writer.
Right.
And so there's a lot more depth, I guess, that exists there than probably that's even necessarily going to show up. But he basically ends up taking these guys for a cut of the diamonds, and then he turns around and turns them in. And that's the kind of character he is. He's not necessarily amoral, but morality is not the first item on his to-do list, so to speak. And things quickly spin out of control for him. The first issue is about 40 pages. My artist is finishing up the last few pages, inking and drawing those, and he has a tendency to take what I say is one page and turn it into two. So I don't know. And I give him his leeway. He's fantastic. Awesome. And so I'm pretty jazzed about how it's turning out. I've learned to just give him the room to use his creative vision, because he's really good at what he does. Awesome. But go ahead.
No, I thought it was pretty interesting, and it may be because of your artistic background. Because what I find is there's a difference between writers and who feel compelled to have to micromanage the process with an artist, or when there's a creative that has an artistic background, they respect the craft of the artist that they're working with enough to allow them to play.
Man, that's key. If you can trust your talent, and if that's one of the things that was a very hard learning curve for me, because I knew with my schedule and frankly with the reality that even though I could do the sequentials for this, I haven't done sequential art in 30 years. Okay. Or almost 30 years. And by the time I got back into it, it would be hard. Like I found myself inadvertently becoming the colorist on this book, just simply because I didn't like any of the color that was getting laid down by anybody I had work on it. I had 2 or 3 people work on it, and I said, forget it, I'm going to do it myself. Because I said to myself whenever I did this, I've run complex projects before where they're like you say in my regular day job, where there are a bunch of moving parts, where you work for the state or you do different things where you got to coordinate with different people. You have to be able to have a team of people that you can trust and extend your hand to and say, okay, this is your area of responsibility. I'm going to have Overwatch, but I believe that you got this and I want to see excellence from you. We had a conversation today, my artist and I, about 4 pages, and I had initially told him that I was going to have changes of the sketch pages for him, and I came back to him and I said, you know what, I changed my mind. Your edits on this are to the benefit of the story. I don't know if you necessarily did that on purpose or you just were following instinct, but it looks better the way you drew it. Go with what you came up with. And as for me, it's key about producing excellence. I've been very fortunate to come to know guys like Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon, and Bart Sears did my cover for this book, and Bart has become a very good friend of mine, during this process. And, meeting these guys and having to do with them, I just absolutely, I said to myself, I want something that's going to stand up to something that these guys did. I don't want to produce something that looks like, it's amateur hour. I want it to be the same quality of what I produce in my day-to-day work. And so I think that that's what we're delivering, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't matter to anybody else, it's going to matter to me.
Outstanding. And that brings me back to your graphic design. So did you design your logo?
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about the process. And was that, how many renditions did you go through? How many drafts before you landed on that one? Or did you know exactly what you wanted?
The initial, I tell you, the initial thought process, that's a good question. The initial thought process for Outlier, it went through 2 or 3 different subheadings. Before landing on Warforged, it was originally Apocalypse Game, and Apocalypse Game really didn't work because it wasn't a game so much. There wasn't interplay. But originally, what had informed my thinking on that was the Red Ring of Death from an Xbox. I originally had the circle with the red ring behind the O. I always had those fonts and pretty much that layout, but the backwards half moon thing with the cutout to frame, the character's face or whatever, that's the way I always put it on the cover, is it's framing a character's face. But that's it. It developed over a little bit of time. Logo design is a big part of what I do. And so I pretty much had a good idea of the direction I was going. I had something that was going from flame to wings, and there was a whole lot more thought that was going into it. And there's a lot of times you have to draw back and just say, you know what, less is more. And it's probably a little bit more Baroque than it really necessarily needs to be. But I like it. So
it stands out. I mean, it's easy to read. It stands out. It's a very well designed logo. Kudos to you.
I appreciate it.
As far as the coloring goes, now, Lincoln, do you have like a palette already in mind for the colors that nobody else was able to capture? Is that the reason why you decided to do it yourself, or what was that? What was that all about?
Most modern colorists that I've looked at, and I didn't notice this until I started looking for my own book, their colors are either too pastel or too muddy for what I personally like. And I wanted the characters to go like the celestial characters, which are like this gal here that you see, the gold tone of her skin. She's part of an organization called the Legio Agellum. And they're part of the unseen powers that be that are still trying to keep the order of the construct of reality. Okay. But apart from the Legio Agellum, there is other factions that have splintered off, that, and as they become further and further, their physical manifestation, the way that they appear, begins to subtly alter. Like the ones that are part of the Legio, they have sort of an almost a technological base to their armor set, and their appearance is more golden, and they give off a luminosity like that. And the more they stretch away from that, the more kind of feral they look. They're a lot of times you've got hair replaced with flame, that kind of thing. And if I wish I had an image of the Bart Sears cover that I could bring up. Bart Sears did a fantastic rendering of the character that he actually, you can see him up there at the top of that image. That character's name is Azazel, and he is a fearsome dude. I'm just going to leave it at that. He's a wicked guy. And
so Lincoln, real quick. So for those watching the show right now, pause it. Go to Indiegogo. Check out what he's talking about, because the cover will be on the Indiegogo page.
Yeah, man.
Check it out. Then come back. Pledge. Then come back and keep playing this. So I mean, it sounds like that would have been very difficult to explain to a colorist to get it exactly the way you did it, which is probably like, yo, dude, let me just do it myself. Forget it. I know what I'm talking about. I'll get this done. And the fact that you can really actually do it is what's great, because you have that skill to be able to do. Is this something that also, again, is this something from your day job that you're incorporating into this? Did you have to use some of those skills?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I'm also going to be doing, is because one of the different perks that we're going to be offering people is we're going to be doing decal sets. We're going to be doing some trading cards. We're going to be providing, one of the things we're going to be offering is signed posters by Bart of his cover that he's doing. And I actually have a perk level that Bart just got through doing a project of his own called Heads Will Roll. I'll say it right in a minute. Which is nothing but headshots of different characters that he's either drawn or that has been requested of him to draw. It's a 144-page hardbound book. We've got 5 copies of that are signed by Bart that we're going to offer to. We're going to have 5 of those available for different ones to get in addition to their physical copy of the book as well. So those are just a couple of things that we're going to be doing. But I have. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that I'm able to do in-house, or I have, the lines of the channels already set in motion to be able to do that. So I guess that kind of gives me a leg up from your typical newbie, getting started at this. The big thing for me is, getting enough of a following of guys who want to see what we're producing.
Well, I think it's important because part of the reason why I think some people kind of like are a little leery about pledging to crowdfunding campaigns with new art or with new creators is because, will I get that stuff? Will I actually get my project? So the fact that you are, the risk is little when it comes to that stuff. You will be getting the stuff because you are in control of getting the print. So there is no, well, the guys who are printing it, they haven't sent it out to me yet. It's late. Sorry, guys. We'll get it to you next week. So
yeah, I'm not playing that game.
Plus. Yeah, no, that is a plus.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm excited about that part of it, actually. That was one of the things that I really took into consideration whenever I jumped on board with this. I thought, these pieces are already in place for me, and the story's there, the ideas are there. I really just have to find a sequential artist that I can count on, who's going to deliver and do what you'd be surprised at the number of guys out there who say they want to draw comics, but whenever you try to turn it into a job where there's a deadline involved, man, they head for the hills. They don't like that. Artists are some flaky people, and I can say that because I are one.
I are one.
Oh man, yeah, right. You want to be an artist. You want to be a comic book artist until you have to draw a comic book, and you're like, wait a minute.
Man, that's it. It's great to talk about it. And I scared off a bunch of guys because I started talking about, okay, tell me how many pages you can deliver, and you set the pace. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you to set the pace, and you tell me what you can do. Don't overpromise, because I'm not going to ask for anything more than you tell me. But if you tell me, do it.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to do.
That's it.
I mean, and really, I've hooked up with this guy. His name is Flavio Garan. You can find him on Facebook. He's absolutely fantastic. He's a freelancer. He's probably going to be looking for work because I'm not going to be using him again just immediately, although he's going to be drawing the next book for Outlier whenever it comes out. I'm being optimistic. I'm expecting great success here. But Flavio's always looking for work, and I would love to see him get the recognition he deserves because he's freaking fantastic. But
the pages look amazing, man. Just the little slips that I see here on the page.
Yeah,
they look incredible. So now, what is the plan for the book? So this is issue 1, or is this like chapter 1 of a big? Like, how are you? Well, what is the end goal here?
There is a finite arc that at this stage of the game, it's going to be around 40 pages or so, like I mentioned previously, for this first issue. Most of that gets our hero from complacency and comfortability into really hot water, and it has some setup involved. The next book is where things really start to cook. There's going to be 4 issues in total, and ultimately probably an omnibus that'll come out in some sort of a deluxe format if there's a demand for it, and we'll just see what happens. Kevin Galat, I'm sorry, I've never said it out loud. He's my marketing guy with Ink.pub, the fellow from the NSC Roadshow. He's fantastic. He is planning on helping and working with me on promoting, more as we go. So we'll see what happens. But this book is 4 issues, hopefully to completely tell the story of the World Forge. I have other ideas in mind for that reality, but who knows what's going to happen.
Right. So you mentioned Kevin's name. So how did you guys hook up?
Honestly, he approached me. He contacted me, and it's kind of funny because I was looking for what he brought to the table. And I had been desperate enough to go and look at Fiverr, and that was a joke, over at Fiverr.com, looking for, the different people from foreign countries, and they're like, oh yeah, we can get you the moon and we'll hang the stars. And yeah, bullcrap. I don't, that's not going to happen. But, Kevin has really quickly, done a good job of treating me like family. And I appreciate that from him. He's good people.
We know Kevin. I've messed up his name plenty of times. So
Kevin G. That's it. Just Kevin G.
Kevin G.
Kevin G. When it's time to pronounce it, it's a whole different ballgame.
He's a Cajun from Louisiana. It doesn't matter.
There you go. That's it. That's it.
No, but that sounds great, man. I really love the concept, the artwork. I mean, it's the total package here. It's a total package. I suggest everybody to go in there, pledge. Now, is it a flexible goal? Because I don't know Indiegogo has flexible goals and they got fixed goals. Is this a flexible goal? Or is this a fixed goal that you're doing in Indiegogo? What's
at this stage of the game? That's something that Kevin and I are actually still talking about as far as where to put that number. Obviously, we want to do as well as we possibly can. I'd love to see it. I'm not gonna speculate on it. I have a solid goal in mind that we'll probably be comfortable setting it at, but we really want to shoot beyond that point, because really the success of this book to a degree is going to determine the depth of focus that I'm going to put on this aspect of my life, because I'm at a place, I own my own company, and I'm at a place in my life at this point where I can direct my attention toward doing some of these creative ventures. I've got 2 or 3 other different ideas. I've got a book that's going to be starting. In fact, I just landed my artist and locked him in for the 3rd week of November. The next book is going to get started. It's called Hero and Sidekick. And I really don't have a lot of details to give about that, but we're
going to have you back to talk about it.
Man, I want to come. I want to come for sure. But it's a completely different world. And we could talk about that at another time, but it's a young man and his grandfather, and it's going to be a wicked cool tale. I'm excited about the direction that's going to go, but completely different genre and demographic for that one. But anyway, I'm really wanting to explore the different worlds that have lived in my head for so long, and hopefully the opportunity will be afforded to me to be able to do that.
Well, I love it. I love the mindset. I think this is going to be a rousing success. This thing looks great. For everybody watching, make sure you go to Indiegogo, go to Outlier, search Outlier.
The link is in the profile.
You will find Outlier World Forge. There, like you said, there is a link.
Thank you.
Obviously on the chat here. So thank you so much, Lincoln, for coming on. We're gonna have to have you back because there's so much more philosophical stuff you got to get into. There's so many more stories you got to tell us. So definitely, please, the door is always open. Sam says it all the time.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks so much, man.
This is awesome.
Appreciate you having me.
Yes.
Absolutely. You will come back. So thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Thank you
so much.
You got it.
Take care, guys.
You too.
Yep.
And that was our guest. And again, check out the Indiegogo. Go to the link in the profile. Hit them up on social media. I'm gonna have
they got real dark in there, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Holy cow! What the?
Hold on, I gotta get
really dark.
I get this thing out my face.
Check it out. Definitely go to Indiegogo, pledge to the campaign. Let's get him to his goal. Sounds like an incredible project. Bart Sears is attached to it, so make sure you go there. You pledge. Sounds like it's got a lot of really cool stuff. Luckless Hero, love that. Love Luckless Hero presents, and Yeah, outlier, man.
Yeah,
That's gonna be
he
the
put a
next-
lot
the
of
next
thought
big
into it.
thing.
His coloring looks fabulous. You know, it's pretty dope. Pretty
That's it.
dope. Yeah. So I mean, if you like this episode, let us know. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you have not done so. Help us monetize. The more of you that subscribe to us, the more that we can reach and give a bigger audience to our indie guests when they come on the show. So that we want to grow the show, so we expand our reach out there as well. So thumbs up, subscribe, share it with a friend. If you're listening to us on Spotify or iHeartRadio, you know, leave a comment below. Give us a rating. Give us that 5-star rating. Again, recommend us to a friend. And if you want to be a guest in Cast the Craze, it's as simple as just hit us up on social media and send us a message and say, hey, what about me? We got you. We got you. And, you know, and if there's a guest that you'd like us to interview on the show or a topic you'd like us to discuss when we're doing our pre-shows, just let us know. Leave the recommendations in the comments. And we will
Make sure that you hit that bell, because that'll give you an alert when a new episode comes up, like one that we have coming up on Friday,
right.
with the very talented John Hervey from Beyond Time Comics. You don't want to miss that interview. Very funny guy. A lot of cool conversation was had there. So make sure you check that out on Friday. And like Sam said, subscribe. Help us reach 1,000. The road to 1,000 starts now. So
Yes.
let's get there.
The road to 1,000 starts now, and we need you to do so. So, with that said, this was another great show on Cast the Craze. I'm Sam, the Crazy Man Vera,
And I'm George the Dreamer Medina.
and we are.
It's just it's not.
Crazy.
Acquiesce. No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. I met him.
Say my name, right?
This is what you were thinking? Oh,
He described me.
he said, I'm the.
What? Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. To Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze on Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.
Candy girl.